Welcome back to the Daily Scoop, where we break down the stories, opinions, and conversations making noise across Jamaican entertainment and culture. Today, we have a packed discussion. We are talking about Masicka and Bounty Killer, the controversy surrounding Future Fambo and Beenie Man Summer Sizzle, questions involving CJ Milan and Vibes Cartel, and the possibility of Alkaline taking new rules to Africa. We are going to look at the different sides, separate opinions from established facts, and ask the bigger questions. Let's get into it. Starting off with Masicka. When an artist reaches a certain level, people sometimes forget that the superstar they see today was once just another young person trying to figure out how to enter the music business. Before the albums, before the international performances, before the charts, before the millions of streams, there was simply a young Masicka trying to develop himself as an artist. Masicka, one person who played an important role in that journey was Bounty Killer. That name should immediately get your attention. Bounty Killer is not just another dancehall artist, he is one of the veterans who helped shape several generations of Jamaican music. So when Masicka speak about Bounty Killer supporting him from before he became widely recognized, that says something about the importance of mentorship in dancehall. Masicka explained that Bounty Killer was somebody he admired from an early age. He was not simply listening to Bounty Killer music, he was studying the artist. He was watching the way Bounty approached music, and at one point, Masicka even contacted his own decision to pursue DJing with the influence of artists like Bounty Killer. That is significant because sometimes the person who inspires you doesn't even realize how much influence they are having. Think about the journey. A young artist watches somebody who has already achieved something he wants. He studies the music, he studies the delivery, he studies the confidence, he studies the work ethic. Then eventually that young artist enters the same industry. Years later, that artist becomes successful himself. That's how musical generations are connected. Bounty Killer came from one era, Masicka developed in another, but there is a bridge between them. And Masicka comments suggest that Bounty Killer's encouragement meant something to him long before the wider public started paying attention. That is why mentorship matters. A simple word of encouragement from an established artist can sometimes keep a young artist moving when everything else seems uncertain. One of the most interesting parts of Masicka's story is the idea of respecting somebody before they become successful. It is easy to show respect after somebody becomes a superstar. Everybody wants to say they knew them. Everybody wants to say they supported them. Everybody wants to say they believe in them. But real support is tested before the success arrives. Masicka appreciation for Bounty Killer appears to come from that period, before the fame, before the album, before the international recognition, and that makes the relationship meaningful from Masicka perspective. It also gives younger artists something to think about. Don't only look for relationships with people who can benefit you immediately. Build genuine relationship, respect the people who helped you, and remember the people who believe in you before the world knew your name. Now, let's shift gear. Because the conversation surrounding Future Fambo and Beenie Man Summer Sizzle is still generating reactions. Future Fambo has continued expressing his belief that his involvement could have changed the event. That is his position. But we have to separate the claim from the fact. Whether his presence would actually have transformed the turnout is impossible to know with certainty. Concert attendance depends on many factors. Ticket price, marketing, venue, the date, artist lineup, weather condition, consumer spending, public interest, and dozens of other variables. So when an artist say if I had booked the event would have been bigger. That's an opinion about what might have happened. It's not something we can prove after the fact. The conversation also brings footer hype into the picture. According to Future Fambo, He believes there had been communication involving money and its potential participation. That's where things become complicated. Whenever artists and promoters discuss booking publicly, there are usually multiple sides. The artist has one version, the promoter may have another, management may have another, and sometimes the audience never get to hear the complete story. That's why we have to be careful. We should not automatically declare that one person is lying simply because another person tells a different story. The entertainment business needs contracts, it needs clear agreements, it needs written terms, it needs booking agency or professional representative where appropriate. And most importantly, everybody needs to understand exactly what was agreed before the event is promoted publicly. Future Fambo also raised a broader question about artists managing their own bookings. This is actually an important business discussion. Imagine you are an artist, you're writing songs, you're recording, you're performing, you're doing interviews, you're promoting yourself, and then you are also responsible for negotiating every show. That can become overwhelming. A professional booking representative can potentially angle negotiation, scheduling fees, and communication. But not every artist has access to that kind of infrastructure. Some artists rely on family, some rely on partners, some handle everything themselves, and sometimes that arrangement works, sometimes it does not. The bigger lesson is that artists need business system as much as they need musical talent. Future Fambo also described how he will approach a major concert differently. His idea was basically that if you are the promoter, you should organize the operation properly and allow professionals to handle different responsibilities. That's a reasonable business principle. A promoter should not necessarily be trying to do everything simultaneously. Imagine trying to sell tickets, manage the stage, organize performers, supervise food, handling the entrance, host the show, and deal with vendors all at once. That is a lot. Major international concerts usually involve teams. There are production managers, stage managers, event planners, security teams, public relation team, artist coordination, ticketing committees, and many other professionals. Jamaican event can benefit from that same level of organization. At the same time, we have to recognize something about Beenie Man. Beenie Man is not simply a promoter who happens to be hosting a show. He is an entertainer. He is one of the biggest names in dancehall history. So if he chooses to be heavily involved in the atmosphere of his own event, that's part of his identity as a performer. People know Beenie Man for his energy, they know him for interacting with crowds, they know him for being active on stage. Therefore, the debate about whether he should have been more behind the scene is not as simple as saying there is only one correct way to run a concert. Different promoters have different styles. Now, let's move to CJ Milan. This discussion around CJ Milan, Vibes Cartel, and promoter economies has generated another major debate. One of the arguments being made is that the value of an artist's performance can be dramatically different depending on the artist, and that is absolutely something worth examining. In entertainment, an artist's fee is not determined only by how long they perform, it is influenced by demand, fan base, streaming, ticket selling power, catalog, brand, international reach, history, and the ability to attract people to an event. Vibes Cartel has a massive catalog and an extremely loyal fan base that gives his brand substantial commercial value. Here, the part that everybody needs to understand. There are three major forces in live entertainment: the artist, the promoter, and the fan. The artist provides a performance, the promoter creates and finances the event, the fan buys the ticket and creates the demand. None of them can completely function without the other. A promoter can't make money without an audience. An artist can't perform at a concert without somebody organizing the event. And a fan can't attend a concert without artists and promoters creating the experience. That's why these relationships need mutual respect. Now, let's talk about alkaline. Another interesting conversation emerging from the discussion is the desire among African fans to see alkaline bring its new rules experience to Africa. This is a fascinating development because Africa is not simply another international market for Jamaican music. The cultural connection between Africa and the Caribbean runs deep. Reggae and dancehall already have dedicated audience across the continent. Countries such as Ghana, Gambia, and Kenya, among others, have vibrant music communities. So the question becomes, could an alkaline new rules event work in Africa? Absolutely and potentially. But the details would matter. The promoter would need to identify the strongest market, study the fan base, choose the correct venue, build the right local partnership, and create a marketing campaign specifically for that audience. For Jamaican artists, Africa represents opportunity, but artists should not approach Africa as if they are simply taking Jamaican music somewhere people have never heard it. African artists have their own musical tradition, they have their own superstars, they have their own entertainment industry. The best international partnerships are based on mutual respect. Jamaican artists can bring dancehall, African artists can bring Afrobeat and other local sounds, and collaboration can introduce both audience to something new. That's where the real opportunity lies. So that is where I am going to leave it today. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the Daily Scoop, and turn on the notification bell. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Alkaline take new rules to Africa? Was Future Fambo right about summer sizzle? How important is particular influence on Masicka? And what does Jamaica need to do to build a stronger future for its own people? Until next time, this is the Daily Scoop. Stay informed, stay respectful, keep questioning, and keep watching the culture.